on the herd, which is where he drops most of his things, he said that the Pittsburgh Steelers should give up 2 first-round picks. Oh, we are not done yet, my friend. We're still going. George Pickens. Hold up. I know you're thinking this is nuts. It's over. There's no chance. We are not even close to the end. And TJ Trenton Jordan Watt should be on the ballot, the docket, the trade sheet for the Pittsburgh Steelers to move up with the Tennessee Titans to number 1 in the NFL draft to get no other than Colorado's own Shedeur Sanders. And it is not a ploy to hire Deion Sanders. That is not why the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing this. It is simply because he believes Shedeur Sanders could be a starter. It's the best part of this whole part. Quote, if he's a starter, you go get him and you get all this up. The answer is no, but it gets crazier than that. It gets funnier than that. Let's have a good laugh about the situation that is Colin Cowherd tossing this nonsense into the world once again. Last year, and I could pull up the exact date, to be honest. Let me get it here. Let me lock it in. September 30th, 2023, that's after the season. Okay. Or this is during the season. 2 years ago. He didn't even, so hold up. Let's go back. I'm a loss for words here. Colin Cowherd is late. He didn't even wait until the offseason to do this last time. Wild. Anyways, last time Colin Cowherd, September 30th, 2023, he waited over a year, so good for him. Said the Pittsburgh Steelers should give up TJ Watt, George Pickens, familiar faces in the trade room. I don't think Colin Cowherd thinks they have anybody else to actually get rid of. And not 2, but 3 first-round picks to go get Caleb Williams, which means that Colin Cowherd's not that high on Shedeur Sanders. He's not. He was clearly much higher on Caleb Williams to give up 3 first-round picks instead of 2 before the 2023 season even started. You're what, 3 weeks into the year? You're entering week 4 at that point, and you're saying go get Caleb Williams. It's already over. Trade all. Now he's at least waited and said, Russ ain't the answer. Justin Fields ain't the answer. Go get Shedeur Sanders. That's the answer. Future franchise quarterback. 2 first-round picks, George Pickens, TJ Watt. I mean, it's hilarious. Above anything else, it's hilarious. It's not realistic. It would never happen. The Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't give up. They wouldn't give up TJ Watt for anything. You know, I was listening to the Pat McAfee show the other day, and JJ Watt's on there. And they're talking about TJ going into a contract year. And they start the conversation by acting as if, you know, oh, what's going to happen? Like, this is crazy. He's going to get paid. And then Tone Diggs jumps in and goes, he's getting extended and they will pay him whatever he wants because he's a Steeler for life. And whether you agree with that or don't, it's good. That's how it works. TJ Watt's here until TJ Watt hangs up his jersey for the last time, heads to the rafters, and makes his way to Canton, Ohio. That's what happens with TJ Watt. George Pickens might be gone. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. 2 first-round picks, the most realistic part of that whole thing, I think, and that's crazy to say. The sad part is 2 first-round picks for the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't going to get you the number 1 pick in the draft. You're not even going to try. Oh, here's the 21st pick in the draft. Next year, you might get 22. Have fun, Tennessee. No, it would never happen. Your thoughts when you saw this one? Did you get a laugh? We needed a good laugh today. It hasn't stopped snowing. It's like Antarctica here in the city of Pittsburgh. We need a laugh. Did you get a laugh?
Yeah, I definitely got a laugh out of this entire thing, especially whenever at the very end he says the Steelers are one of 3 teams in the league that are genuinely a quarterback away from being really interesting when it comes to the postseason. Not if you trade away TJ Watt, and not if you trade away your first-round pick for the next 2 years. For a guy in Shedeur Sanders, who I understand that he had the qualifier, that is, you make this trade if your scouting department says that he is a starting quarterback, he is the guy. I, in my own personal assessment, don't think that he is worth trading 2 first-round picks to get into the number 1 spot. to acquire Shedeur Sanders. Do I think he could be a nice quarterback at the next level? Potentially. To be honest, I'm not that high on him. I think I'd still take probably 3 or 4 of the guys that came out of last year's draft over Shedeur Sanders at this
Yes.
point in time. But it was definitely funny to see him argue the fact that they are a quarterback away, and yet to get that quarterback, he thinks they should trade away the one piece that, for the most part, makes them that quarterback away, which is TJ Watt.
Yes. And again, like, there are 3 parts to this. The Wild, you're never going to trade TJ because then you're essentially starting over. Like, you're going to look at it and say, you want to know what we should do? Get rid of our $130 million defense that isn't working out. Why or where to start? TJ Watt. That's the one you start with. And on the other side of that, like, you have holes, massive ones, and you're going to give them up for a quarterback. I just, no. And I'm with you. I've said it a number of times. I've talked to scouts, man. Not everybody believes Shedeur Sanders is the number 1 pick in the draft. Not everybody believes Shedeur Sanders is even a first-round quarterback. Look at these results. People are making free money betting on sports, making thousands every month. The secret? They're using OddsJam. OddsJam isn't just another betting app. It's turning the entire system in your favor. OddsJam uses a strategy called arbitrage, finding odds differences across sportsbooks. Bet both sides, and no matter the outcome, you will profit. Here's an example. You put $500 on Boise State to win on FanDuel and $335 on their opponent San Francisco on DraftKings. You're guaranteed to make $50 win or lose. With the OddsJam mobile app, you get real-time alerts on these opportunities every day. People are making thousands monthly. To get you started, use our code ALLSteelersTalk for 35% off and a 7-day free trial. I guarantee you'll profit during that trial, and if you don't, cancel with 1 click, no questions asked. Don't leave money on the table. Go to oddsjam.com, use our code ALLSteelersTalk, and start making money the smart way. Caleb Williams was the guy. You went and traded for Caleb Williams. Even if it wasn't going to work out, you did it. Shedeur Sanders isn't that guy. You would have went with, just like you said, pretty much all of the first-round quarterbacks over Shedeur Sanders in this year's draft. And if you're giving up this load, TJ Watt, George Pickens, and 2 firsts. This is where I keep my notes. Go get JJ Watt or JJ McCarthy. Excuse me, not JJ Watt. You want to go get a quarterback? Go give up 2 first-round picks and go get JJ McCarthy. Keep TJ Watt and George Pickens, and you'll be just fine. I mean, it just doesn't. Shout out Colin Cowherd, man. Always making himself known. Always making himself known. What would you realistically give up for not Shedeur Sanders, but what would you realistically envision the Steelers moving up to get or to do in the NFL draft? Can you see them moving up in the NFL draft?
I have a hard time believing they're going to trade up for anything, just simply because, I don't agree with Cowherd. I think they're more than 1 piece away. Now, if there's 1 piece like an Ashton Ginty that they believe really just completes their offense, which I don't agree with, but if he's the type of player that drops to maybe 16, maybe 17, do I think you move up a handful of spots to make sure you get him? I could see that. But outside of that, or maybe if Teteroa McMillan starts to fall, you start to do that. But outside of those 2 names, I don't think there's a player in this first round that's going to be worth it for the Steelers to trade up to get. I just think that they have too many holes. They want to keep as many draft picks as they have because, well, to be fair, they've been hitting them over the last 2 drafts. Omar Khan has done a pretty good job in his first 2 drafts getting value out of that 3rd round selection or a 4th round selection. I mean, how good was Mason McCormick? Above expected this year. How good was Peyton Wilson? Above expected this year. So they're going to want to continue to keep those picks. I think it's going to take a very special player for them to want to have to move up in the first round this year.
I agree. Again, I'll say it for the 3rd time maybe this week. Maybe Jalen Milroe. Maybe. And I don't think they give up much, but I just think that, and I don't think I support the idea. I don't think I don't support it, but I don't think I support the idea. I think I'm very neutral on it. like you're telling me that you don't get the sense of like Mike Tomlin kind of freaks out for a minute there and they go get a quarterback? Like you don't think that could happen? I'm not saying that they should. I'm saying you don't think it could.
I mean, it could happen because it's getting to the point where the Pittsburgh Steelers now are 3 years since the retirement of Ben, and it seems like they don't have a plan. So I could see Mike Tomlin getting to the point where he's like, all right, I am desperate to get the next guy in here because we thought it was Kenny. It wasn't Kenny. When I say we, I mean they. They thought it was Kenny. It wasn't Kenny. This year, they didn't even try to go out and get the guy. They just tried to get a patchwork quarterback room that could hopefully inspire some hope in the future. And while both me and you don't have much hope in the future with Russell Wilson, and there is a large portion of this fan base that doesn't have hope as Justin Fields as the starter going forward. So I think there's a world in which Mike Tomlin might get a little desperate and might reach, but I do still think that cooler heads will prevail most likely. And I don't think that they would reach, especially for a guy like Jalen Milroe.
I don't think they'd reach, but I do think if he got close enough to the point where they said, because I don't think like 16 is a reach. You know, you're moving up 5 spots. What are you going to give up? A 4th round pick to go get him? You know, like it's not going to be that crazy of a trade. I could see. I think I agree. Like I agree. In my head, like a reach is you're going to move up 10 picks and give up George Pickens in the process. That I don't think is even on the table. But if he gets close enough, you know, Broderick Jones, you moved up 2 picks, you know, to say we need that tackle. I could see the Steelers saying, yeah, whatever, man. Just call him and give him a 4th round pick. We're going to trade our 5th round anyways. Like you might as well just do it. That's what we do and go and get him. That could be the only one. Ashton Genty would be another name. McMillan, there's no chance he gets out of the top 10. There's no chance. And I also think that at that point, like, let him fall because that just means everybody else is going to be there for your Pickens. And you could say, here's number 2, here's number 3. Like, you know, Dez Bryant fallen so Demaryius Thomas can get drafted to the Broncos type situation.
Yeah. I mean, you look at last year, it kind of fell into the Steelers' lap wherever there were a couple people that went up. You know, Michael Penix, Bo Nix went higher than expected. All of a sudden, whenever the Steelers went up to the podium, they had their choice of Troy Fautanu, who was not expected to be there. They could have gotten, you know, Cooper DeJean. They could have gotten Quinyon Mitchell. They could have gotten A.D. Mitchell. They had a lot of opportunities. Not A.D. Mitchell. That was the second round. But a lot of people fell to their lap, whereas they just sat in that hole, and all of a sudden they had their pick of the litter there, and they had a handful of very, very good prospects. I could see that happening again this year simply because outside of maybe the top 10, it's going to be a similar draft where there's going to be a large group of people and a small group of picks that are going to be bouncing around kind of from start to finish. At least that's the initial read that I have on this draft class.
I agree with you. It's going to be all over the place, especially at that position. And because of it, you just kind of like, we're too early in the process. We are, you know, you come March, you're going to understand a lot. We're going to have a much better grip on this. Right now, it's the Steelers need a wide receiver. Go get a wide receiver. You know, who's going to be there? You're guessing it's Ohio State's Ibuka. You have no idea. Yeah, you know, like he could be. Last year, Brian Thomas was supposed to be a top 5 pick at one point. Now we're talking about should the Steelers have drafted Brian Thomas? Yeah. That now we're talking about should the Steelers draft him. It'll move all over the place.